right now.
All right, hey guys,
Hi everyone.
how are y'all doing? So that's gonna begin the moment you hear me talking.
Yeah.
So you guys know that we got a new cat, and I just want to let y'all know that ever since we've had this cat, he's watched every Tom Brady game with me, and Tom is undefeated with this cat. But apparently he likes meowing when I'm talking for some reason. Like I don't get it.
Yeah,
But
he was not doing this until now when you started. When we started, basically, he started talking as well. Maybe he wants to do some commentary.
yeah, maybe he does.
We'll
So
try tomorrow.
yeah, let the cat keep the undefeated streak alive. Okay. So we have a big football weekend tomorrow, and Monday. Of course, we have the Monday night, but we'll get to that. Okay. Look at that right off the bat. Adi Basorno, a $2 super chat, the first of the night, starting out strong. He says, calling it now. Browns 10, bye week 28. That's pathetic, Addy. So you're giving the bye week a victory over your team. Your team is so bad that they're gonna lose during the bye week. Man, come on. It'll be okay, Addy. It'll be okay. At least your team could be worse. You could be the Patriots. So, bet you never thought you'd hear that, right?
Yeah, me neither.
So, okay. So, how's everyone doing? Luke, it could be the cat could have a reverse effect on the Patriots. I'm not sure, but to be honest with you, I think that has more to do with Tom Brady. I think that's the Tom Brady effect that's happening there, not not the cat itself. So the cat's just affecting Tom's play. Remember, another super chat already. Wow, thanks guys. $5 super chat from See It Twice. He says, "Hey Addy, I'm trying your my team sucks solution. I don't know your beverage of choice, but $8 wine is doing me just fine." $8 wine, you're gonna be wasted. Oh man, Raphael's here. How's it going, man? Your 49ers. They have the worst freaking luck this year. Terrible, and it makes me look bad too because I picked them. Um, yeah. Where's the Jets gear? I'm sure that's why you're here tonight. I'm supposed to be wearing a Jets jersey. Milena, do you care to explain?
Well, yeah, it's an eBay purchase, and the guy's in Poland, and he said he mailed it, but didn't provide me with a date. And so basically, we're waiting for the delivery from Poland, which is not very far, but the guy seemed to work very hard, and he said he wouldn't have time to send it until I don't know when. And so anyway, now it should be on the way. We'll see. when it arrives, we'll let you know.
So basically, as soon as we have it in our possession, I'll let everybody know in the Facebook group and the YouTube that the following show, the next show coming up, will be the one where I wear it. Um, this is what I get for buying a jersey from Poland, and I should have known. I mean, we shouldn't be too surprised because I mean, if you're a fan in Europe of the NFL and you chose the Jets, okay, if you own a Jets gear, I mean that already means that there's something wrong with you, right? It already means that you have some kind of mental issue. So yeah, I'm not surprised that it's taken this guy. Dude, the first week he didn't even mail it, so he just like didn't even start on the weekend. It's just a big mess. But no, I am not trying to get out of it. It will be on the way here. So um, everybody knows. Anybody who watches this show knows that I will. I don't puss out. I don't not face my issues. I remember everybody thought that I was not gonna do a show after the Patriots lost to the Titans. I did a show. Everybody thought I wouldn't do a show after the Chiefs beat the Titans because I made that big video about how the Chiefs were going to lose, and I did. I held an entire show just for Chiefs fans so they could talk junk if they wanted to. I definitely won't get out. I'm not trying to get out of it. So to be honest with you, I just want to wear it and get it over with. It's just ugh. But no, I couldn't use Fanatics because Thomas, because I did look into them, but they didn't have the Jets specific Jets item I was looking for. So I had to find one that's used, and I got lucky. You guys will see why. You'll understand why I ordered it off eBay, and if Fanatics had one available, I would have just done that because I did look at them, but I got this one off eBay, and it wasn't even that expensive. Actually, pretty good deal. That should have been another red flag. I mean, a guy wasting his time to sell this on eBay for not much is probably a shady guy to begin with. So, but whatever. I could probably burn it on the show somehow. But anyway, so me and Amelia, we got a good idea planned on how to deal with this. It's going to be funny. I think you guys are going to like it. I'm going to turn something horrible into something fun. So it should be interesting. Addy, a $5 super chat. He says, "Hey, see it twice and every Pats fan. Jameson and ginger ale with a splash of lime is my go-to beverage for bad games." So the fact that Addy here now, anybody new here knows that doesn't know, Addy is a Browns fan, and yeah, he's got all kinds of rituals on what to do when you're losing or when you lose bad, different things like that. So oh, perfect. Okay, you're back on, Milena.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to start out the night. Now we have, like I said, we have a big night. We have a lot of game matchups to talk about, and we're going to get to that. But right off the bat, there's something. I have a guest coming on that I invited. You guys know him as the Red Coat, and the reason I brought him on is he has been helping me with the quarterback formula that we talked about last week. And this week we tweaked it some. We added some more variables on a minor scale. But the Red Coat is a engineer, and he is hopefully he's in the running to possibly work for our government. So could possibly be working for NASA. And so I just brought him on to kind of back it up and talk about it a little bit, and show you guys just how flawed the other statistics are actually. So let's see if I can get him on here. Jason, are you here?
That's better.
Can you hear me, buddy?
Yeah, all good.
So how are you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. Busy day, but bit of a work on Saturday.
Really?
Also run a few different things with a friend of mine who has he does like AI type stuff.
Really?
And we played around with some of the variables of the formula. And there's quite a good minor change I think we could make to it, of an additional variable to add in that actually brings the margin of error down a lot, which is the quarterback success on third down passing percentage. So how often you actually on third down, if you throw a pass, how often that's completed, and that narrows the margin down quite a lot. So we can discuss that later, though. So.
Nice, but so are we going to consider that the pass has to travel the entire length of the third down to gain, or can it be a 1 yard pass and then it can be yak across the third down?
No, so you have to. The idea is to pass the ball so it goes past the line of gain. So as long as you pass the ball past that third down line, your percentage of completion on that third down, on getting that third down. So it's quite useful in that regard, because there's a lot of there's quite a few passes that are at the line of just past the line of scrimmage. Say it's like 3rd and 1. You'll have like a screen pass that goes straight to almost to the line of scrimmage, and then the guy leans across. That wouldn't count. So it just depends on how that plays with diagrams. But I had to look into it, and there's some. It does help narrow the margin down quite a bit. So yeah, it should be quite interesting. But we can discuss that another.
I love it. I love it. That sounds great. So I was just telling everybody about it. I don't know how many people saw last week, but we were referring to it last week. But guys, what this is, and the reason I keep talking about it, making a big deal out of it, is because we are trying to replace faulty statistics that don't really show a quarterback's value. And it doesn't really get to the bottom of all that. Because right now, if you look at, let's say, a QBR or passer rating and things like that, it's going to make you think that Baker Mayfield's a better quarterback than Tom Brady. Or that, it's just ridiculous, like ridiculous stuff like that. And this formula basically weeds out those flaws. Because if a quarterback is really playing true to what to his team, and he's actually that valuable, then there should be a formula that can say that can do that. And the biggest problem that we've had with these statistics is that they don't account for the human parts of it, right? So like Jason, when we look at, let's say, a QBR, and it says that this guy's like top 5, in QBR, and then they go on First Take and all these other shows, and they go, oh, he's top 5 in QBR, so he's great or doing great. But we all, as fans, look at each other going, come on, have you not watched a game? This guy sucks.
Like I said to you, Aaron, it's much the same with, passer rating and things like that. You shouldn't have a metric that can value people based on if you spike the ball the entire game, you have a better passer rating than if you're actually trying to make passes to play the game. So that's, as much as it's kind of a false positive. So it's one of those things. It's one of those things that's always been there, and that's fine. But there's nothing against finding other ways to to a more realistic level so that you can see more accurately.
Right. And I'm not saying that there's no use for passer rating or QBR. I mean, there is a use for it. But what this does is it tells us who is the actual MVP, who is the most valuable. And yeah, it takes into account anything a quarterback does. So if you're valuable to your team, this formula will account for that. One thing I tried to introduce, and Jason, you actually kicked out, was I was trying to introduce the on the road variable, right?
Yeah.
And you had said let's hold off on that maybe until next season because of the crowd issue. So
Yeah, I mean, that variable is just it's so massively different from this season to another season. As much as it's as much as, like, for example, the first game of the season, the Saints still beat the Bucs, granted, but that the Superdome, having been there as a traveling fan, and same as having been to Arrowhead as a traveling fan, like, the sound in that place is ridiculous. It shakes the building.
yeah.
So when you don't have a crowd in there, and the whole team can hear the cadence, they can have a proper huddle and discuss the play or whatever. That takes a level of that realism out of it. So that's
Sure.
a massive. I mean, and to be fair, from all my times at Gillette, like, Patriots fans are pretty smart as well. The way it's the crowd's cheered for, the game's cheered for, and it can get pretty loud at Gillette as well. Not as loud as some of the other stadiums, of course, but it's still pretty up there, especially where the acoustics are in that building. But it's a case of this season that's kind of removed, because even if you get to the point where at the end of the season you've got, say, 20,000 fans in the stadium, for most stadiums that's like a quarter of the fans that can actually fit in there.
Right. So we can go ahead and introduce it next year when there's crowds, because it won't affect this year, because the stat is only for in season. The formula is only for this season. So any decision that we change next year, it's still an even playing field. As long as we don't alter it for a quarterback and then change it for another quarterback in season, it's going to be fine, right? So I like it. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's so to give you an idea, we used my friend's algorithm. We basically input all the stats from what season was it? I think it was the 2017 season, and just put all of as much as the information we could find based on what the current information is, as well as how the scores went throughout the season for the different teams, wins, losses, whatever. And if I remember rightly, Brady wasn't the MVP when we spanned it all out at the end, based off of the metrics that we had, which was quite interesting, actually. I can't remember who it was now. That was right. I used so Brady did come second, so he would have been MVP in that particular case. But I used because it was a hypothetical scenario. I kept Carson Wentz in non-injured and just extrapolated what he would have got, and just continued it that way.
You took basically the trends of where he was going, and had he not got injured, you would have.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So because I waited to see, because he was on a pretty damn good arc, so I waited to see how it was going. So we just added that supposition into it, and just to see what it would be, and obviously he did actually come out as MVP. Brady still came second though, so it was quite interesting.
That's how it would have been if he had not gotten injured too. So
yeah. Oh, I think you're muted, Aaron. The guys are saying they can't.
Yeah.
sorry, I was just saying that it could have been that way. Basically, it would have been that way. Carson would have been the MVP had he not got injured. At least we're assuming We're assuming. I mean,
Yeah.
something he could have just,
Well,
but probably not likely. So
no, I mean the thing
yeah,
is, it exactly. I mean, I using the formula, as I said, you input that into the algorithm, and then you there's a degree of assumption because you just say, okay, for argument's sake, he carried on that trajectory, so let's see what happens. And he was MVP by a reasonable margin, but Brady was quite clearly second. So it's quite interesting the way it ends up. So I think it's going to be over the next year or two ironing it out. I think it's going to be a really interesting formula. And I'll be astonished if you don't find it featured somewhere through. They'll have to ask you because it would have been patented by that point. But
well, that's what I'm happy about. So that's why I wanted I got you involved as well, um, just to add some, just to let people know that we didn't just I didn't just think this up and and put no realistic uh, and got some realistic input behind it because
yeah,
a lot of these stats these people come up with, guys, are just it's just nonsense, and they don't think about everything. They don't think about every single possible scenario that could tell us about this. But so I thought I would take my what I think I have to offer people when it comes to football and analysis is not so much technical side, although I could do that. It's just not really my interest. I offer more of the real world viewpoint of it. Like with the Brady Hate Saga episodes, you guys notice that a lot of what I put in there defending Brady, I do use stats, but I use also a lot of anecdotal evidence and a lot of common sense and logic, right? But I also wanted that analytical side to it, and I wanted that angle, and so why not ask an engineer, right? So I think we got the best of both worlds here. Um,
yeah, and I think if we, as you said, if we tweak it based on how it comes out at the end of the season, because as you said, we could end up with a certain variable that throws something off, and we end up with Baker Mayfield as MVP. Highly unlikely, but
yeah,
sorry, um, but
the,
there could be one small thing that throws it out. So, um, depending on how we take it, and if all the QBs sort of stack up approximately where we think they would be, then I think that's a pretty good starting point, and then we can fine tune it and we can tweak it going forward to get it, just to bring that margin even narrower to the point where obviously it can't be infallible, but um, it'll give you an interesting viewpoint from
sure, oh sure,
certain factors that we think are important to a QB's uh, most valuable status. Now, I know there is the argument out there of, um, you know, it's showing how valuable Brady was to the Patriots because look at us now. Fair
right.
enough. If you've got, I mean, and we're not, thankfully, but if you've got like a trash organization like the Jets and you put, I don't know, freaking Warren Moon in there, there's only so much he could do.
Yeah,
But he would still be better for them than, say, Baker Mayfield would be. So there's a level of value that he would have higher anyway. But if you base it off the numbers on what they're actually doing, then that takes away that section. I still agree that is a valuable argument for certain things, how valuable to a team a certain player is. I mean, look at what happened to the Packers when Aaron Rodgers isn't there. But on the flip side, to actually see how the numbers shape it out is quite interesting. So we'll be able to see that once we.
exactly. So guys, we're gonna have this ready, and on Wednesday will be the video where I will reveal it. It will at that moment on Wednesday will be how the countdown starts. So that's when it begins, and it will go for the rest of the season, and then we are going to submit this to the NFL, to Pro Football Reference, to Pro Football Focus, like any statistical. We're hoping if the NFL likes it, they may put it in next gen stats, because they like to go with pretty unique stuff. So we'd like to maybe put it there. We'll submit it to teamrankings.com and various places, and hopefully it can get some traction. So, but another thing we came up with, we should probably talk about, is we came up with the idea for an award. So, guys, what we're going to do is at the end of the season, whoever is MVP in the NFL, whoever ends up being our MVP, not the NFL MVP, because the one that is normally presented every year that we know about, that's done by the Associated Press. What the hell do they know? Okay, they're just a bunch of journalist dipshits, and they know nothing. Okay, but whoever wins our MVP will be the Von Allen Sports MVP, most valuable quarterback. We are going to actually have an official trophy made and sent to that team. So if Russell Wilson wins, we send it to the Seahawks. If Brady wins, we send it to the Bucs, and so on. If Mahomes wins, we send it to the Chiefs. Now, Jason, your job is going to be to design the trophy, correct, on CAD.
Yeah.
Which is, you want to talk about what that is and how it's done?
I think most people probably know what CAD is, but yeah, I'll put it into my SolidWorks program, and then depending on availability of materials, and depending on what we actually go for, size-wise, etc., I may be able to 3D print it. So depends, obviously, if I can. If it's different parts we can fix together, I can 3D print it in my 3D printer, or if not, I could take it to work and print it. We've got a much bigger one.
So what the goal would be, what we want to do is we want to make a trophy that is so badass looking, okay? Because I know some people are thinking, why would any major player care about some award made by Von Allen Sports who's on YouTube? Why would they care? Okay, well, here's why. We're going to make a trophy that is so cool looking and so unique that you're going to want to have it somewhere or keep it, okay? It's just one of those things.
It'll be one of those ones that will kind of, when you see all those different ex-players and stuff like that on like the Herd or NFL Today, and they're in their office and they have all their, ex-playing shit behind them. It might be something that they have like in the corner. That'd be kind of cool. Especially if it looks good, because then you can kind of
exactly
you can push that forward. So yeah, it should be quite fun.
Yeah, I'm excited, guys. I'm pumped about this. I wish we would have thought of this last year, but I was trying to do the formula last year, but it wasn't ready. And waiting was a good idea, because now I think it's just right. And of course, at this time last year, I don't even think I knew you. So us waiting. You were a subscriber, but I didn't know you personally. Like, you were a Patreon donor. You were one of my first ones, actually, but I didn't know you personally. We didn't talk for a few months.
No, we didn't start talking until we had an argument over history.
Yeah, we were talking about, we were on Von Allen history and started talking about England versus America. But anyway, the point is, we're gonna do that, introduce an MVP trophy, and one day this thing will be people will know about it, and all of you guys, all of you subscribers will be able to say that you were a part of this and you were a member of it and contributed to it. So I'm really excited about that. Very happy. So Bill, do we have any sketch ideas for the trophy? Not at all. Not at all. Not yet.
No, we need to have like a sort of Legion bubble ideas thing, and I can piss around like drawing it up and stuff, and then throw something into CAD and see what it comes back with. So because the good thing is all the tolerances and stuff like that I can input into that, and and I can render it and see what it would actually look like.
Exactly.
Before I print it off, so it's sort of in 3D, and then we can have a look and say, can adjust things here and there and stuff like that. So it could be, it'd be quite cool, I think. Actually.
Now,
and then we can even show everyone on a show before we even make it. Just say,
test
what
it
does
out.
everyone think? And give us ideas, whatever.
Exactly. You guys we can talk about it. You can give your input and give ideas and stuff. It's going to be great. We're not going to make some cheap trophy either. We're going to put some effort into it. It's going to be nice. It's going to be awesome. And maybe this is a way we're always saying that we want to contribute to the NFL and a more positive way, and where the fans have more input and the fans have more involvement, because the NFL, and like other major sports, but I'm only going to focus here on the NFL in this regard, they give too much power to journalists. Okay, they give power to the journalists for MVP. They give power to the journalists for the Hall of Fame. All right, and that leads me to the next thing. We want to create a Hall of Fame. Okay, so a Von Allen Sports Hall of Fame that actually is really legitimate. So basically, it's not the Hall of Very Good like the current Hall of Fame is. This is literally the elite of the elite. I mean, if you're not like top 7 or 8 all time, you ain't got a shot. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's going to be fun to do. But there is one thing about Von Allen Sports subscribers, is that we may only be 11,000 of us. By the way, we just crossed the 11,000 mark today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. I'm happy to see that. So it's growing. But we may be a small group compared to others, but we by far have the best subscribers. I know that. And the most knowledgeable fan base. So I'm happy to share that with you guys ahead of time, and we can talk about the designs, and we can even do a voting. So when we create our Hall of Fame, now we should do that in the off season when we don't have current sports. That way it fills the time between the seasons. But we should have some shows, and we should all kind of vote and decide and who is worthy, and we'll go from there. So I think that'll be fun. It'll involve participation like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Be great fun. Yeah. Trav just said, more than 8 QBs had the all-time record of retirement. Yeah, that's fine. But they still fit into that category for that moment in time. It's just obviously later on.
That's different. That's greatest of all time kind of thing. Like the.
That's also the power of hindsight, because if you're just constantly adding to the pile otherwise, so it just pushes more and more guys out. So
Yeah, and I think Trav is the one who said that numbers lie. Well, that's the entire point of the formula. The entire point of the formula is because numbers can be deceiving. Now, it's not the numbers that are lying. It's the person who chose what numbers are important and what numbers.
How you put them across.
Exactly. It's about, that's the human element of it. The human element is to decide what numbers are relevant and what numbers are not relevant. So
exactly. You can show almost anything with numbers without context. But if you put enough context in, then you're more likely to get the truest answer out. So granted, it does sometimes make certain things, I guess, unnecessarily complicated, or, as my boss tells me all the time, over-engineered. But it's always you get to a truer point. So
right.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So
I don't think that too many people disagree with how our extrapolation comes out, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's the idea. Numbers. It depends on what you choose. Like, guys, passer rating only focuses on a few categories, and it's just the major categories. It doesn't tell you a whole lot. It doesn't factor in situations and scenarios that really don't show you what's happening in the game. And the QBR, it has a QBR is more complex than passer rating. It offers a lot of stuff, but it gives too much weight to the wrong things. It really does, and it's very bizarre how they do it. And that's why you end up getting these weird results of different players, and you're like, what the hell's going on here? So that's the idea. See It Twice said, I would like to preemptively nominate Mr. Cuddles, the cat at last year's Giants-Cowboys game, for the VAS Hall of Fame. I did I did inquire about the black cat, but apparently the problem was I was one of like 1,000 people who tried to adopt the damn thing. So it wasn't that successful. But apparently he did end up with a home. So that's good. So
yeah, to answer Trav's question statement that he just put up there is, yeah, if I remember rightly, there's about 20 different factors that go into the actual formula itself, and then that's the way to give you the most accurate picture. So as I said, we'll probably still play around with this to bring that margin of error even more narrow to see where we think it should be, and it will be based purely on how important you are, how valuable you are in certain situations all the way through. And all of those have a numerical value, and all of those together then have a value at the end that literally lets you know how valuable your quarterback was too. So it'll be interesting to see where the NFL MVP is compared to where the NFL MVP rates in our or in the VAS formula. So it's going to be interesting to see. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm happy with it, and but I think the best thing of all is that you guys will be so much involved along the way, and when this thing, I promise you, when this thing is used and people use it as a measurement. For trying to figure out the MVP of each year, which is always going to be quarterbacks going forward. You guys know how it works.
Yeah.
But yeah. I was asked, did I see the Brees is the GOAT video? Okay. Can we talk about that for a second? Right now, what we're dealing with is a massive amount of Brady derangement syndrome. Okay? It is a plague. It is an epidemic. It is at all-time full retard levels. Okay? Right now, they're only talking about Brees because he's going up against Tom and because he is in Tom's division. It's the same thing every single year. Drew Brees is not even close to Tom. There are tons of players that I could tell you that are more of the GOAT than Drew Brees.
He gets nowhere near the GOAT discussion.
Nowhere near. Yeah, exactly. Nowhere near. All right? Because this is what people don't understand. Statistics are only a part of it. So, if you're making a formula, let's say, okay, about the greatest of all time, and you have major categories, and within those major categories would be subcategories, but let's just focus on the major categories. You'd have stats, you'd have longevity, usually, you would have wins. And then on top of wins, you'd have a subcategory of that, and then you'd have Super Bowls. Well, when you factor all those things in, how can stats alone weigh all of that out? It can't, right?
No.
And that's what people don't understand, and they don't get. And if you've seen my Montana Brady video out there, guys, I I thought I clearly showed this in the beginning when I used LeBron versus Jordan reference. And
Well, if you take it off just stats, up until when Brady and Brees went past him, Favre was the GOAT. If you take it that way, because he was top in everything until those two went past him. So if you wanted to take it off just purely stats, then there you go.
Exactly.
So it's an empty argument.
It doesn't make much sense. The only man who is in the GOAT discussion, and what I mean by that is he's one of the GOATs, plural. Okay, there are several GOATs. There are several GOATs, but there's only one the GOAT. Okay, so there's the GOAT, but then there's GOATs, as in a group of guys who are greatest of all time, who are the plural, and that's like number 2 through 7 or 8, probably, right? The only one of that group who lacks Super Bowls and lacks the amount of wins that you would want is Dan Marino. Okay? He's the only one. And the reason why Dan Marino was given that, because some people would say, well, Drew Brees has a Super Bowl and he's got stats like Marino. Drew Brees' stats and the way he accumulated them and the what am I looking for here? The relevance, or not relevance, but I guess the context of it is different. Yeah. Okay? What Dan Marino did in the 80s, guys, is so beyond ridiculous. It is so just
and he had to play in New England and Buffalo every year.
Yeah, it's just crazy what he did, okay? Guys, he threw for 5,000 yards in 1984. In 1984. To put that in perspective, it took 28 years or something like that to be done again. All right? In 1984, he threw for 48 touchdowns. It took Peyton Manning all the way to 2004, I believe, to replicate that, and he threw for 49, and then Brady threw for 50, and then we know after that, then Peyton broke it again, and then Mahomes got 50 as well. But it took all of those years to do something like that. So what Dan Marino did was so ridiculous for his era, for his time. That sets him apart. Drew Brees is not that. Drew Brees is not allowed to have that kind of context because he's not even the greatest of his era. First of all, he had the misfortune of playing in the same era with Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, and partly with Brett Favre, and then the second half with Aaron Rodgers in the league. And even earlier in Brees' career, you also had other challengers. You had Carson Palmer, who many people forget about Carson Palmer and overlook him, but he was a very good quarterback. He's not a Hall of Famer or anything, then that's not what I'm saying, so let's not get crazy. But he was very good, and it could be argued that Carson Palmer was better than Drew Brees in the early to mid 2000s. So no. But when in the 80s and 90s, accumulating ring 3 and 4, Dan Marino was still the consensus best quarterback in the league. Wouldn't you say? And that's what I remember. So, how do we? Someone asked, how do we factor in strength of schedule? Well, first of all, you guys probably know that strength of schedule is not my favorite statistic. And it's not because I don't believe that some teams are harder to beat than others. It's the other way around. It's that I don't believe that you can go negative. I don't believe that you can take a team and say it's an easy win. I don't believe in an easy win, but I do believe in a more difficult win. So you can go up, but you can't go back. You can't go under. All right.
Yeah,
This Monday night when the Patriots play the Jets, who are 0-7, that is not an easy win.
that is a
Okay,
trap.
it's a trap game, and Monday Night Football should have told everyone that when the Bucs played the Giants. Okay, just 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago, the Bucs embarrassed the Packers,
yeah,
or was it a week ago? Well, 2 weeks ago now. But the week
yeah,
before the Giants game, they embarrassed
yeah.
the Packers, who are a Super Bowl contender, which everyone agrees, right? But the very
Absolutely.
next week they play the Giants, who only had one win, and they barely got away with their lives on that one. So don't tell
Yeah.
me that there's a such thing as an easy win. There's just harder wins, and that's the
You'd
difference
also
right there.
have to,
So
with that, you'd also have to take into account as well. You would then have a increased, even if the team's garbage, you'd then have an increased level of difficulty when it came to division games because you'd have to factor that in. Because obviously, as everyone knows, as Miami's done it to us multiple times, no one likes screwing up a fellow division opponent any more than they do playing other teams. So if you've got the opportunity to wreck something for a division opponent, it's always a harder game. So you'd have to, yeah, I mean, that would take a lot more. There'd be a lot more factors to introduce in that. Although that could be, whomever put that in there, that could be something to take forward and see if we can, over the next year or so, or season or so, expand the algorithm further and see what that does to it. That would take a fair bit more work, but it could be interesting. Absolutely, it's an interesting point. Um, Certainly.
Yeah, and again, it's in the context of the value for the team. So for the MVP, those stats don't stand alone. I mean, as standalone stats, they're not all of them are relevant. So um, basically, I mean, what you were talking about earlier about the team, the difficulty of the team and everything, the opponent, it is a consideration, but definitely the value of that quarterback to the team is more important.
Yeah,
Um,
because if you can take that in different contexts as well, because say you have a team that's really good at defending the pass and garbage at defending the run. So one week, say they hold someone like Mahomes or Aaron Rodgers to one TD, one pick, and not many yards. But then the week later, they play someone like Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton, who runs all over their ass and destroys them. Um, that changes the narrative and the context of the stats because it's they may be an okay team or they may be a garbage team, but they just happen to be okay at taking away one thing. So it would skew the stats towards one thing more than another. Um, which, as I said, it makes it an interesting variable to put in. Um, but you would have to have it would take a while to work out a set of criteria for that,
right.
which, as I
It's
said, could be
dynamic.
done.
It's
It just
dynamic. It
takes time.
changes every week, and so
Mm.
certain, things as difficulty of a team is more of a measurement that is taken over a period of time. Let's say last year, last season, several years in the past. But what about right now? What you were saying, I think. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah,
that's
it's
it.
very exciting.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it. I'm trying. I see some chat here. And I'm just wanting to understand, guys, because I again, if you're new here, I pay attention to what y'all say. I try to interact with everybody, and I always try to understand what you guys are trying to contribute here. Mike Larry, I'm not understanding exactly what he's trying to say, but welcome, by the way. I haven't seen you here before. So I hope you subscribe. And by the way, guys, we have 100 watchers right now and only 37 likes. If you guys could do me a huge favor and click like, that'd be great. It really improves the algorithm and really helps the channel a lot more. But Mike Larry, he says, so machines should be blowing our minds for making it look easy versus hard teams. I don't know what that means. He gets crucified for playing Niners in front of Super Bowl? Or Mahomes?
Mahomes.
Okay. So Mahomes, I got it. Okay, so Mahomes should be blowing our minds for making it look easy versus hard teams. He gets crucified for playing Niners in the Super Bowl, or the Niners front in the Super Bowl. No. No. Actually, I gave credit to Patrick Mahomes for playing the 49ers. The one small thing, the caveat I would apply was that I would have liked him to have gone through a team like the Ravens or the Patriots, when they were at the top, for example, some kind of legacy team there on the way to the 49, on the way to the Super Bowl. But again, that doesn't invalidate him, and I'm not saying that. That's all I've ever said regarding that. But no, the Chiefs built the Chiefs' victory against the 49ers. That was a solid win. That was a solid win.
Comeback win. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing wrong with that. Chad Johnson, our Saints fan, is here, of course, defending his boy Drew Brees. Chad, it was a different Bucs team in Week 1. Okay, I'm just trying to tell you that if you don't think that the Buccaneers and Brady specifically hasn't been waiting for this game all year. All right, he wants to show. You got to remember, this is the two guys who are fighting for the passing touchdown record. Okay.
Yeah.
And what you guys are going to see tomorrow night, and I'm just going to give you a little preview. Okay, keep an eye on this. You guys are about to see a level of stat whoring that has never been seen before. Okay, we're talking stat whore chlamydia, stat whore full-blown AIDS, stat whore herpes, okay?
Stat whore weekend in Key West.
Yeah, stat whore weekend in Key West. Everything you can imagine, it's going to be stat whore extravaganza from both. Okay, you're going to be seeing ridiculous touchdown passes on a 3rd and goal that's 1 yard. Okay, I mean just like completely just stupid crap. So ridiculous, because this is just, and that's what's funny about Brady. He never got to be a stat whore, and he's finally playing with a coach who will allow him to be a stat whore and actually want him to be a stat whore, and that's what's great about this. But no, it's going to be a great game.
There was some minor stat whoring going on, I suppose, when he had the chance in 07.
Yeah.
If you can't stop us, then that's your fucking problem. And the only sort of real stat whore game that he didn't need to do was 2009 against the Titans, 59-0.
That was just rough.
That was rude.
Yeah.
That was actually rude. The fact that Brady was still in that game, that was rude. Like, I felt sorry for Jeff Fisher. I was watching that game thinking, yeah, that's upsetting. Like, that would suck to be on that sideline. But yeah, that's the only fully stat whoring game you could probably say they had, really.
Well, what I like about this game too, though, is Michael Thomas is back, is he not? He's going to be back, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got Kamara and Michael Thomas.
I think Godwin's going to be back as well.
So we got them on one side, and Brady's got, hopefully Godwin, got Mike Evans and Antonio Brown. Okay?
Yeah. Evans, Brown, Godwin, and Gronk. And
Gronk is finally, getting open, and and don't underappreciate his blocking, which opens up for everybody else. I'll admit I'd like to see Leonard Fournette run a little better. I think that he's got some LeGarrette Blount in him. And do you remember LeGarrette Blount, guys, when he really got going and he could take off for 25 yards just whenever he felt like it? I think
Well, you see,
Fournette
he's got one of those
has
runs.
that in him. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got one. That run he had for the Bucs years ago. I think it was the Bucs he was playing for. That was a minor version of the Beast Quake. It was just ridiculous. He ran through like 6 or 7 players and got almost in the end zone, I think. That was a hell of a run, and he had 18 touchdowns in 2016 for us. So yeah, now, he did pretty well.
I just one thing I want to mention. You mentioned Tom Brady in 07, and he did some stat whoring in 07. But the difference between Tom Brady's stat whoring in 07 and the reason you can't really apply a negative to his stat whoring is because the product of his stat whoring was 16-0.
Yeah.
Okay? So stat whoring is only a problem. Right. Stat whoring is only a problem if you're getting this during garbage time or if you're getting it in a loss. Well, what's the point? If you lost the game, please tell me, what is the point of that? So that's the thing about 07 that people don't realize, because they say Peyton Manning's 56 touchdowns in 2013 is a better quarterback season than Brady's 07. No, it's not. The greatest quarterback season of all time is 07, Brady, okay? Look at any metric you want, especially approximate value. If you look at the AV, Brady is clearly had the best team, because you have to take into account that his team went 16-0 as a product of his stats. Peyton did not do that. So that makes all the difference in the world. And, well, again, that's my opinion, but that's what I think. So.
Okay, I'm going to jump off, Aaron. So,
okay, well, thank you.
I have the show going in the background, but I've got a few things to do.
But thank you so much for coming on and backing up the formula and talking about that for us. So I really appreciate it, Redcoat. So
good show.
Thanks, Redcoat.
All right.
Have a good night, man.
See you later, guys.
Bye. Okay. So we have that. So you guys. Oh, Mike, thank you so much. And welcome to all of you guys who have never been here before. James Evans, welcome. Stephen Grant, welcome. Like I love seeing new people here. And if this is your first time, say hi in the chat. So let's go ahead and focus now on current games this weekend. I will admit, I would have liked to have seen more activity in the trades department, but yeah, that was a little disappointing. So, of course, we have the big Tampa Bay New Orleans game, which we were talking about. We have the New York Giants at DC Criminals. Based on what we saw with the Giants last Monday night against the Bucs, I think that if the Giants can at least somewhat replicate their effort there, they could probably get the win. I still don't understand why Alex Smith is not starting. He worked his ass off to get back, and you're just not letting him play. And I don't see why you wouldn't at this point. What are the Criminals? What are they trying to prove at this point? I don't get it. You've got Chicago at Tennessee. They don't even know who they think they should have at quarterback in regards to Chicago. Tennessee's got that game. It's a done deal. Detroit at Minnesota. Yawn. I mean, could there be a game that matters, that is completely pointless any more than Detroit and Minnesota? I guess, well, New England and New York's probably, but this one is just completely pointless. But I've got Detroit winning that. Carolina, 3-5 Carolina Panthers at the 7-1 Kansas City Chiefs. I think Carolina is one of those teams that are kind of sneaky decent. It means that they've got something working there and they've got something going, but they just can't put it all together because of course they lost McCaffrey. That dude is so good, you might as well call him the Carolina McCaffreys, but he's back. But I just think the Chiefs are just a tad bit too good for them right now. So I know it's a boring pick. It's a safe pick, which makes it a boring pick, but I'm going to say the Chiefs pull that out. Oh God. A 1-6 Houston Texans versus the Jacksonville Gardner Minshews, who are also 1-6. That's a big fat yawn. I'm going to give the game. That's going to go to Houston. So now we got a nice matchup. Baltimore, the 5-2 Baltimore Ravens at the 5-2 Indianapolis Colts. Lamar Jackson hasn't exactly been lighting up the stat sheet, but there's always an expected downslope from when you're an MVP. Okay, that's just a natural decline there, because when you win MVP, it means that you were playing at such a high level and at like an ungodly level usually, that statistically speaking, you are going to have a down year, and I think that might be what's happening. Some people think that the NFL has figured him out or whatever that is, but I don't think whatever's happening in that regard, whether you think it's a problem or not, they're going to win. So Baltimore is going to defeat the Colts in Indianapolis. 6-1. Here's a great matchup, guys. The 6-1 Seattle Seahawks at 6-2 Buffalo Bills. That's Seattle's game. I am not impressed. Okay, I have not been that impressed by Buffalo. Well, actually, for the last few weeks, you know.
I'm not impressed by your performance.
Yeah, so not impressed. I'm not impressed by their performance. So, yeah. All right.
Hey, we had a super chat.
Oh, nice. Was it Trav?
Yes.
Oh, $5 super chat from Trav Burnett. He says, support the show. Thank you, Trav. I appreciate that, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You're awesome, dude. So we've got Seattle at Buffalo, and I've got Seattle. I still think that Russell Wilson right now is the front runner for MVP, but that doesn't matter what I think. All that matters is what the VAS QB formula will say, and we will know on Wednesday who is actually in the number one spot for MVP. And actually, it will produce all 32 quarterbacks. Only one team, each team can have only one quarterback, so it's always a list of 32. 3-4 Denver Broncos at the 2-6 Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons got that. So the Falcons are going to pick up their third win. Book it. The Las Vegas Raiders 4-3 versus the LA Chargers, who are 2-5. I'm really liking Justin Herbert, and to be quite honest with you, Herbert is playing like the number one overall pick, right? So that's not a knock on Burrows, but you have to look at the situation. Burrows went to the Bengals. Justin Herbert went to the the Chargers. And remember that the Chargers are a team that has such a good roster that Tom Brady was looking at them. So that was one of the teams that he was considering to go to. So Justin Herbert got to go to that team at the 6th pick overall. So that's also a factor. But I really like what I see from him. And my God, it's quite a bit of a relief because I have this fear that we're not going to get the next group of guys that we've got to enjoy over the last 20 years, the Peyton versus Brady and those kind of guys. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be, and they have to be exactly Peyton and Brady. I mean, to expect anybody to be at that level is ridiculous. But I just mean that kind of proficient quarterbacking and the battle between the two. I really hope that we can get something like that. Because even in the 80s and 90s, we had Marino and Montana and Elway and those guys. So hopefully these young guys can start putting it all together pretty soon. And we'll have a good future of quarterbacks there. But I still like the Raiders here. I think they're a pretty good team. I know they've had a few problems, but and they got fined recently for another COVID violation, but whatever. It's not going to affect the game itself. So okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are 7-0, at Dallas, who is 2-6. I think that's pretty obvious who's going to take that game. It's Pittsburgh. And they'll have that game won by halftime. 4-3 Miami Dolphins versus the 5-2 Arizona Cardinals. Go ahead and I'm going to go with Miami here. So I say Tua probably picks up his second win of his career. That leaves us, of course, with the 5-2 New Orleans Saints at the 6-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I say Tampa, of course. And then we've got the Monday night game. Oh my God. The 2-5 Patriots versus the 0-8 New York Jets. I said they were 0-7 earlier. I was wrong. They are 0-8. I thought they had a bye week for some reason, but apparently not. One thing I don't like, or I should rephrase. I'm a little weirded out by is some things that Bill Belichick said this week. So he mentioned that we sold out to win, and we won 3 out of 4 Super Bowls. And that was his explanation for why the Patriots are struggling this year. Then, of course, he talked a little bit about the lack of practicing with COVID, of course, and then you got Cam Newton getting COVID and not being able to play. You've got a lot of players who set out, and important players. Marcus Cannon, Dante Hightower, Patrick Chung, among several others. Well, while his reasons are correct, and they are reasons that we've all agreed on, right? We've all said that. However, the problem I have is not that it's not true. It's that he said it. And the reason that's a problem is because it undermines everything that he's ever said to the players and to the fan base. This whole, you get out there and you play with the guys you have. There is no excuses. I've never heard him talk like that before. He may have spoken like that when he was the Cleveland Browns head coach. I can't be sure. I cannot remember that. Back in the 90s, we didn't hear from the coaches very often. And when you did, it was, you didn't really pay attention. I can't honestly, I remember Bill Belichick being the Browns head coach. I can't tell you I remember ever watching him in a press conference. So maybe he was like that. But as long as I've been watching him as the Patriots head coach, I've not seen him be that blunt and reveal that there is a huge chink in the armor, even though it's obvious to everybody. I've never seen him admit it like that, and that was that took me off. Like, whoa, what the hell? It's very strange to hear Belichick talk like that. So I don't know what you guys make of it. I know a lot of you guys are Patriots fans, but yeah, it's weird, very, very weird. So it makes me feel like Belichick is listening to the noise. You know how he always says ignore the noise? Doesn't sound like he's ignoring the noise, guys. So, because he's hearing that whole Brady doesn't need Belichick, but Belichick needs Brady, that whole crap. And maybe he's letting that get to his head a little bit. He shouldn't, because that's what we're for. Okay? We'll mention all the problems with the Patriots. Belichick doesn't have to. That's what we'll do. We'll say those things, and we'll point those things out. We have a $2 super chat from Addy, and he says, cue the Tank Bowl. Really? Really, man? I'm getting heckled by a Browns fan.
You had a couple other super chats before.
Really? Why didn't you tell me? Oh,
shit. You were so much into it that...
Oh, yeah, I went on a rant there, right?
Yeah.
You didn't want to interrupt me? I apologize to anybody who sent a super chat and I overlooked. I'm so sorry. Seth Chandler, $5 super chat. I love his icon. I always say that, but it's just so funny. Brady riding a colt. He says, love your show. Love from Michigan. Trump country. All voter fraud aside. Go Brady. Never pick Detroit, by the way. Just saying. I know. I'm sorry. But I just have a feeling that Detroit is actually going to be able to win this game. How confident am I in that pick? I wouldn't put money on it, honestly. If I was betting these games, I would just skip that game. I wouldn't get involved. I would just be like, no, thanks. So, but you're right. Detroit is, not very reliable in a good way. Now, they are reliable if you want them to just consistently disappoint you. So, thank you so much, Seth. I really appreciate that. And we have a $5 super chat from Don't Bill Me. I haven't seen you here before, but it's cool. I'm glad you. It's just this is your first super chat, unless you're a previous a former subscriber that had a different name, but. Now you are going to be added to the super chat standings. It's a contest that we have, and at the end of the year we have prizes and things like that. So thank you so much. And he says Drew Brees plays in a dome half of the year. Okay. This is a very good point. Tom Brady played his majority of his career, of course, in New England. So that's 2 games, that's 8 games outside, and probably half of those in very, very cold weather. Then he's got a game in Buffalo, a game outside in New York, and then he gets that 1 game in Miami. But even though Miami's good weather, he always seems to have a problem in Miami. So it doesn't really help. It's not very useful. But still, he does get a good weather game there. But then you've got Ben Roethlisberger, who plays in Pittsburgh, outside. Baltimore, outside. Cincinnati, Cleveland, all outside. All 4 teams have pretty bad weather. You've got Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. He does have to play 8 games outside in Green Bay. He does have to play in Chicago once a year. But he does get Detroit, which is a dome. And he gets Minnesota, which is a dome. But I respect those guys. I respect Aaron. I respect Ben and Brady for having that kind of career with such various odd weather. But then we've got Drew Brees. So, and this was kind of the Peyton Manning, the issue I had with Peyton Manning as well. Not really an issue, I should say, but when people attack Tom, I always enjoy bringing this stuff up. But Drew Brees is when he started his career, he was in San Diego. Okay, so that gave him 8 games in perfect weather. All right, I live in Los Angeles, and I'm telling you, there is no such thing as a bad winter in Southern California. It doesn't exist. Okay, it just doesn't. Every game is perfect. So he had 8 games in perfect San Diego. He had 1 game in Kansas City, so we'll give him that. 1 game in Denver, we'll give him that. But then his other game was against the Raiders in Oakland. Depends on if it rains or not, but it's not like it's brutally cold there or anything. It's not like you're dealing with ice storms and stuff. So, but he gets to move to New Orleans. Perfect, right? So he gets 8 games per year in a dome. But wait, if that wasn't good enough, he gets to go to Atlanta in a dome. So his away game, so that's a 9th dome game. But wait, it gets better. His 10th game is in Tampa Bay every year. Really? Come on. Really? And then you've got Carolina. And depending on the time of the year, that Carolina could be really awful or it could be okay. And of course, you could say that about all of the cities. It just depends. If it's in September, it's probably okay. But after that, so if you're playing Carolina in December, yeah, that sucks. Okay? But if you're playing Carolina in September, not a big deal. But Drew Brees has had the best luck with perfect quarterback situations. Perfect. Peyton Manning had the same thing. And nobody said anything about Peyton Manning. Nobody ever gave Peyton Manning crap about that. Everyone always said that Tom Brady played in a bad division with bad teams. How come nobody ever mentioned that Peyton Manning played in a dome in Indianapolis? And that he played in a division with the Houston Texans, who played in a dome. And then he played in a division with the Jacksonville Jaguars, who played in Florida weather. And then he played against the Tennessee Titans, who, again, it's like Carolina. It depends on when you play them. Peyton was in a division that involved one team that was the Houston Oilers, who had moved, and teams move because they suck. So that's a team that he's in. The Houston Texans, who was a brand new team. They just had started in 2002. So they were introduced with the realignment. And they sucked forever. And then the Jacksonville Jaguars, who was just a expansion team in the 90s. Not too long before that. So that was the division that he got to play in. Now this week I was watching Max Kellerman say, oh, no, I'm sorry, Milena, it was Shannon Sharp, right? That was talking about divisions, right? Because I heard you, she watches Undisputed way more than I do. But I overheard that, and you're saying...
For entertainment purposes, yes. He was saying that he's not impressed by Tom Brady because he's always placed in an easy division and look at the teams and just going on and on with some kind of very not very thought through comments just for the argument.
So, yeah.
Yeah, pretty ridiculous stuff.
Why? Why would he say this? How about this? Drew Brees, okay? The NFC South hasn't always been this powerhouse or something, okay? There's always been a time where there's a team in the NFC South who sucks, okay? Let's not forget that the NFC South is the division that sent some terrible teams to the playoffs over the last 15 years. And again, I wouldn't even mention that, but they make me mention stuff like this because they go after Tom, and then I have to defend it. Why did nobody mention these things? Why is nobody mentioning that Peyton, like I just said, he got to play with against a lot of bad teams? It's weird how that works, right? So, again, normally I wouldn't pull that out. I wouldn't play that card because I don't believe in this whole easy win bullcrap. But when they make those points, I have to throw it back at them, and I have to give them a taste of their own medicine there. So, and then I've heard all week that Tom Brady has a stacked team, and that if you take off Tom Brady and you put any great quarterback, they would only have 2 losses as well. They'd probably go 14-2, 13-3. I'm sorry, but couldn't you say that about the Kansas City Chiefs? Couldn't you say that about the Saints? Couldn't you say that about the Ravens? Just wondering. Why is it that it's the Buccaneers that you could take the team, the quarterback off the team? Why is it just the Buccaneers that have all these great players, but that doesn't apply for Patrick Mahomes? Really? You're telling me that he doesn't have a stacked team? I think Tom Brady would love Travis Kelce. I think he'd love all these guys, these wide receivers who seems like they're faster than an Olympic runner, and they're always open. I think Tom Brady would love to have Andy Reid scheming the offense for him. Okay? That's not a shot at Bruce Arians or Byron Leftwich, but Andy Reid is a far superior offensive mind. I think Tom Brady would love to have Alvin Kamara. I think he would absolutely enjoy having Michael Thomas, and I think he'd really enjoy Sean Payton, stat whore coach himself. Sean Payton is a former quarterback, so he's all about those quarterback stats. So why doesn't he get the benefit of the doubt? Why is it always Brady, but it's not these other teams and these other quarterbacks who have great players? And that's what I can't stand. And I wouldn't even say this stuff. I would never utter this stuff. I would never try to discredit another quarterback just because he's got good players on his team. But you make me do it. You force me to do it, and I have no choice. Yeah, I don't like doing that, okay? I don't particularly enjoy it, but there it is. So they forced me to do that stupid crap. Yeah, I don't have a lot to say about the Patriots. What do you want me to say? I mean, you know, it's a terrible year right now. I tell you what, I'm worried about this game against the Jets. Do you understand if they lose that game? Do you understand the first team to lose to the Jets this year is going to be a complete embarrassment? And I don't want that to be the Patriots. And it could be. All right? I'm a realistic guy. I understand that it's possible that they lose this game on Monday night. I can't believe it. I can't believe I'm saying it. But it is possible. God. They suck. They're just bad. How bad? I guess we'll find out. People say they're tanking. Hopefully for Jets fans' psychology and their emotional state, the Jets are sucking on purpose, because like my dad said to me last week, he said, the Jets have to be sucking on purpose because nobody could suck that bad by accident. And boy, are they bad. But then some people are trying to say that the Patriots are tanking. In fact, Matt Light, you guys remember our offensive lineman Matt Light? He came out and said that this was some kind of master plan by Belichick. Really? I'm pretty sure that Bill Belichick wants to pass Don Shula for the most wins in NFL history. Belichick is not getting any younger. He needs every season now. He needs every season. He can't afford to be tanking and losing games if he wants that record. Now, that's assuming that he wants that record, but I think he does. So tanking doesn't make much sense. It also, to me, I don't think it's worth tanking to get maybe the third or fourth pick. All right? It's just not worth it. They're never going to suck bad enough to get Trevor Lawrence. That's not happening. So there's no point. Welcome, Mike Goodburn. We have a Seahawks fan in the house. He says Wilson is having a pretty decent year. Really? Russell Wilson is having a pretty decent year, Mike Goodburn? Right now, Russell Wilson is MVP. So now, we'll wait for the formula to say who is MVP on Wednesday. But right now, I still feel like he's number one. And by the way, guys, I want y'all to back me up on this. I see it. I'll get you there. I see it twice. Thank you so much. I know, Mike. I know. I was just playing off of that a little bit. So, yeah, I got you. I'm glad, and you guys can back me up, I'm glad that everybody's finally on the Russell Wilson bandwagon.
Yeah, you've been saying that for a long time.
How long?
I've heard it for years. I mean, over a year, for sure.
Three.
3 years.
Now, we've only had Von Allen Sports for a year and a half, but for years I've been saying Russell Wilson is one of the best players in the league. Last year, you guys know for a fact, the entire season, I was saying Russell Wilson for MVP.
Yes.
That's all I ever talked about was Russell Wilson. Nobody cared. Nobody talked about him. Nobody wanted to talk about him. He wasn't flashy enough, or he wasn't this or that. It was always some kind of excuse. Do you guys remember Seattle last year? Russell Wilson was the only thing keeping that team together. He was the only thing that was keeping them competitive and even relevant. And right now, their defense is so freaking bad that if Russell Wilson does, if they end up winning the division, okay, and they sure as hell look like they're going to, with that terrible of a defense, then how is Russell Wilson not the unanimous MVP? I mean, given that he keeps up those stats, of course. So, if they finish 14-2, 13-3 with that defense, and that defense doesn't improve, my God, I mean, it's his, right? It's his. It's got to be. So. Oh yeah, I remember. You guys remember? It was 2013, and they had signed Matt Flynn. The Seattle Seahawks signed Matt Flynn. They gave him a bunch of money, at least money considered a lot for who he was. They gave Matt Flynn all this money based off of one game. One game. You know what game that was? That was, and I'm sorry, it was 2012. But that was one game where he played against the Patriots in 2011, where he took over a game for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers was temporarily injured. He came in. Matt Flynn had a pretty good game. They almost beat us. And that game alone got Matt Flynn a huge contract and the starting job in Seattle. Well, so we thought. They drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. Now, nobody thought anything about that. Okay, they picked up a quarterback, a young quarterback, that's fine. They needed a quarterback. Matt Hasselbeck was gone. And Matt Flynn wasn't exactly, I mean, it wasn't like they signed Peyton Manning or something, okay? So it makes sense to go ahead and sign a young quarterback. And I am going to pat myself on the back. And back then, I said that Russell Wilson was a 1st-round pick. I did. I swear. I said Russell Wilson was a 1st-round pick. I had watched all of his tape, and I gave him the highest score in the draft. I gave him a higher quarterback score than Andrew Luck and Robert Griffin III. And when he went into the 3rd round, I was like, damn, Seattle just got a good deal. And guess what happened? He ended up becoming the starter, and Matt Flynn didn't even matter. I mean, he got some good money. I mean, God bless him. You know, he got some good money for being a backup. But Russell Wilson immediately on the scene. By the 2nd year, he won a Super Bowl. Now, I know he had the Legion of Boom and all that, okay? Fine. It doesn't matter. The quarterback still has to get his team there. The quarterback still has to play good enough. A quarterback can be a disaster. I don't care how bad or how good your defense is. If you're out there throwing picks, you're out there doing stupid crap, a team can't recover from that. So you have to do your job. Maybe you don't have to throw 4 touchdown passes, but you have to make sure that you're efficient and you're not screwing up. And that is what Russell Wilson was doing at that young of an age. 2nd year, already got a ring, just like Brady. But Brady got a ring in his 1st year starting, but Russell Wilson got a ring in his 2nd year starting. Doesn't get much credit for that. And then the 3rd year, he goes back to the Super Bowl. He should be credited for that too. Again, I'm aware of the defense, but I think now, the last few years, where the Seattle Seahawks didn't have that defense anymore, and the fact that Russell Wilson has carried this team on his back, that should show you that he wasn't just some random quarterback who was being propped up by his defense. This isn't some Trent Dilfer winning with the Ravens. This isn't Brad Johnson with the Bucs. It's not that situation. This is different. Russell has proven that he was legit back then, and he's legit now. So.
Another super chat. But you had one before.
See it twice. See it twice since a $5 super chat. He says, it's an odd thing when the Jets beating us would make their fans more angry than losing to us again. 2020, what have you done? Yes, it wouldn't be 2020 without something like this stupid happening. But do you know why? We've been questioning all year, how come they've not fired Adam Gase? They've not fired Adam Gase because they want to keep losing. By the way, they just found out that the Jets had hidden cameras in their locker room because they were spying on their players. Isn't that wonderful? Gotta love the Jets, man. Gotta love the Jets. Yeah. Thank you so much for your super chat, man. Yeah, it's weird that the Jets fans live for beating the Patriots. But now they would be pissed, like he said, you know, if that happened. That's just sad. All right. Welcome, Prototype Savage the Second. That's an interesting name. Good to see you here, Anthony. Some random Patriots fans here. And people also, and to Mike Goodburn's point where he says we wouldn't have won that Super Bowl without Wilson, Legion of Boom or not. What people don't understand is that a Super Bowl, guys, is not won in one game. The Super Bowl is the climax of a season, meaning you needed that guy to get you there. Getting to a Super Bowl is actually harder than winning a Super Bowl. Winning a Super Bowl is just one game. So you have one game that day, be the better team on that day, and you win. But actually getting there, that's way harder. And that's why I do give quarterbacks credit for getting to Super Bowls. And because I think, like Jim Kelly went to 4 straight. I know he lost them all. But do you have any idea how hard it is to go to 4 straight Super Bowls? How ridiculous that is. It's crazy, man. So he should get that. He should get credit for that. John Thomas Chavez sends a $5 super chat. Thank you, John. He says, what are the odds the MVP vote counting will be delayed until Okay. I'll start that over. What are the odds the MVP vote counting will be delayed until Mahomes has just enough votes to edge out Wilson? I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about, John. But yeah, it's possible. Listen, Russell Wilson is not the darling of the media. The media chooses players that they like. They latch onto them. They all said Peyton Manning was going to be the great one. So they hated on Brady because Brady was ruining that. Because nobody saw him coming. The media said that Andrew Luck was going to be the great one. They didn't pay attention to Russell Wilson. And now Russell Wilson's making them look like a fool. But they all slobbering all over Mahomes. And granted, Mahomes is a great player. I'm not saying he's not. But they're behind him. They want him to win. Aaron Rodgers is their chosen one. They love Aaron Rodgers. So they pick these favorites. And anybody else who challenges those favorites, they don't like. So you're not going to hear anywhere near the level of excitement and credit that they give to Mahomes. It's just not going to happen. Russell's not flashy enough. He's not arrogant enough. He's not out there trying to throw passes behind his back like a freaking idiot and miss his tight end in the end zone, wide open in the end zone by a mile. Russell's not doing that. So he's not going to get the attention. Yeah, it's been 10 years, Mike. It's been 10 years since Aaron Rodgers has played in the Super Bowl. And I'll admit that's shocking. But let's not forget, he had his chance. He had his chance in 2014. He had his chance and blew it. Seattle came back. He should have done more. He should have done more for his team. He had the ball, he had chances. Everyone tries to blame it on that onside kick. Okay? But that was just one aspect. He could have done something. And I seem to remember Russell Wilson throwing a freaking bomb in overtime to win that game. So, but they want to blame it all on the what was that guy's name anyway? Yeah, I can't remember. The Packer. He was basically, what happened was he was supposed to just block, and then behind him, Jordy Nelson was supposed to catch it. He was supposed to be the receiving guy on the onside kick, and he went and tried to get it, and when he did, it screwed it up and it bounced everywhere, and then the Seattle Seahawks recovered it. But they made nothing but excuses for Aaron Rodgers. He had his chance. Sorry, but you didn't get it done. Okay? Didn't get it done. Why am I disrespecting the boat? Yeah. Why is it every time the media has a love fest for a quarterback, he's the best that we've ever seen? It's the same thing always, okay? It's always the same comments. With Peyton Manning, it was, we've never seen a guy with such a release like that. We've never seen a guy who commands the field so well. We've never seen a guy so talented, and we've never seen a guy pass like that. When the hype with Aaron Rodgers, what was it? Talented. He's the most talented we've ever seen. He's the best passer we've ever seen. It's always those things. Now it's Mahomes. The same thing. It's always the same excuses. When someone says that they're the most talented quarterback of all time, that's code for the guy doesn't have the credentials to be called the greatest of all time. So we have to make up some things like the best I've ever seen and all that junk. Well, actually, the greatest passer of all time is Dan Marino, all right? He's the most talented passer of all time. So I don't know why they're talking about Aaron Rodgers all the time and Patrick Mahomes. It's just, come on. Okay, so he throws footballs like a baseball player. How long is that going to last when he throws out his arm? Yeah, I want to see him doing that in 6 more years. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. But it was Bostic. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Do I think the Buccaneers will win the Super Bowl and also keep up the good work? Thanks, man. I don't know yet. Oh, I know you weren't serious, some random Patriots fan. Again, I'm going. You gave me some material there, so I went with it. I'm concerned about the Buccaneers' discipline issues. Now, I know they've cleaned it up the last 2 games, but that crap has a way of coming back on you in the playoffs. And I think Mike Evans is a very undisciplined and stupid at times. He's a great player, but he can be easily manipulated. The opposition can get in his face. They can get him to call him names. They can get him angry, pissed off, and he'll do something stupid. And there's several other players on the team that are like that. We also not sure. We need to see what Antonio Brown can do. One of the things about Antonio Brown that I'm worried about is that he will do well, and then the NFL will find a way to suspend his ass. And they'll take him away from Brady right before the playoffs. So, not sure about that. But I think they got a pretty damn good chance of going. I think the 2 teams out of the NFC Championship game is probably, now assuming that the Bucs beat the Saints tomorrow night, I think the NFC Championship game most likely will be Seattle versus Tampa Bay. So, and I don't know if there's anyone in the AFC I like as much as those 2 teams. I'm not sold on anybody really. I know I picked the Pittsburgh Steelers to make it to the AFC, or to make it to the Super Bowl on the AFC side, but I'd like to see some more offensive domination first before I'm real confident in that. Yeah, Evans is frustrating me. I'm really getting sick of his stupidity, his jawing, and getting mad all the time. I mean, every little thing, some guy gets him pissed off, and yeah, I don't like that at all. So. Yeah, AB. Yeah, Jalen. AB is living with Brady right at the moment. Now, you know what? All week long, you know what they say about Antonio Brown? Guys, they're wanting him to fail. They're wanting him to fail. They keep saying things like, oh, Max Kellerman actually said, I'm not sure if Antonio Brown should be playing. I mean, there's a lot of lawsuits still outstanding, a lot of accusations out there. Are you telling me that if he was on the Kansas City Chiefs or if he was playing with Aaron Rodgers right now, that he'd be saying any of that? No. And we even heard commentators last week. Remember on Monday Night Football against the Bucs, against the Giants? They were saying, well, we don't know if Antonio Brown's going to mess up the team and he'll, all this stuff. They're wanting it to happen. They were like rooting for it to happen. It's like, why are you putting that out there? Why are you putting that in their heads? Trying to start controversy. Saying stuff like, I don't know if the other guys in the Bucs locker room are going to appreciate Antonio Brown coming in. He's trying to put that out there. They're trying to get that going. They're trying to get crap going. You know for a fact they wouldn't be saying that if he was a Packer right now. So, whatever. I appreciate that, man. Thank you, Prototype. Okay. So it's going to be a fun night of football, and as always, we will have a post game here tomorrow night. We'll have a post game, and we'll have a post game after the Pats game as well. Of course, me and Shaq, and we will take phone calls on the post game shows if you guys want to talk about the games. But I'm going to sign off for now. And I really, really appreciate you guys. And all your super chats and everything. It's amazing, guys. You guys are just the best group ever. And yeah, that's again, I know there's only 11,000 of us, but we are by far the best group because the subscribers here we all know each other, and when we get new people, we welcome them. And I know it sounds kind of cheesy or hokey or whatever, but we are kind of like a family, like a sports family here. And yeah, I'm proud of that. I really am. So I can tell you this much. We don't have any fake subscribers on our channel. We don't have fake comments and fake likes and all that. No random click farm accounts like all these other channels do. Our 11,000 are real people, actually real people. So thank you for subbing. Thank you so much. Jim and I appreciate that. Prototype, thank you. We're going to keep working at it. And this new quarterback formula that we've got, I really think it's really going to make an impact. We just got to promote it. We just got to get it out there. Nightwalker, thank you so much. Nightwalker, you are crazy, man. The guy who just a few weeks ago sent a 500 euro super chat. My God. I about passed out when he sent that. I was like, what in the hell just happened? So, thank you so much, guys. Thank you. And I will see y'all tomorrow night. Okay? Have a good night.